Hello, everybody. This is Brian Smith with 321 Gang, and welcome back to our technical podcast, Change the Conversation. We are here again with our friend Amit Talvar of IBM. He's part of the IBM IoT Watson team, and we're going to be continuing our series. This is number 5 regarding automotive spice or A-spice. How you doing today, Amit?
Good, how about yourself?
Yeah, good. Hanging out. It's raining a little bit today. It's a little cooler. You know, it's starting to feel like winter's coming. So
yeah, winter's here.
Yeah. So I guess when we started, it was summertime. So I didn't feel quite as cold. I'm wearing a little bit more clothes.
Yeah, I'm based out of Detroit, so
oh boy,
it's been winter here for some time.
For a couple of months.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good. Well, great. So Amit, aka the Indestructible Sword, we're going to be talking about change management and problem resolution management as part of Automotive Spice, as part of A-Spice's one of their core mantras. So tell us a little bit about that, and then I think we're going to jump right into a demo pretty quick.
Yeah, I mean, so far we kind of focused on the two main process group areas around systems engineering and software engineering.
Mm-hmm.
But there are some supporting processes around change management, problem resolution management that we want to kind of cover with our capabilities.
Okay.
And when you talk about change management, primarily the use cases, we have some changes that are coming down from our customer. We want to make some changes to our requirements. How do we manage that? How do we govern that? And so what we're going to show today is with our platform, how we can utilize change requests or any type of work tickets, work items to be able to manage the actual changes to requirements.
Okay. So really, it's about traceability and visibility, right? Because you get you get your request, and then it has to be analyzed. What's that going to impact? So there's probably some sort of impact analysis. And then once that is complete, if we decide to go through with it, then it's going to have impacts maybe on test cases, on other requirements, their dependencies, and things of that nature. So
yeah, and when it comes to requirements, you want to have some type of governance around them. So if somebody is proposing a change to some requirements, being able to isolate that so someone can review it and then maybe approve it before it's actually made visible to the rest of the team.
All right, sounds good. Now you're going to be once again jumping into the IBM Collaborative Lifecycle Management tool, the CLM tools.
That's correct.
Okay. Are we ready to go?
Yes, we are.
All right, let's do it. So Amit, we are looking at the requirements management part of IBM CLM tool, right?
That is correct. Here we are looking at Doors Next Generation. We're actually looking at a subsystem requirement specification for this adaptive cruise control project. And so, kind of highlighting what we've seen before, right? Requirements are listed. They're atomic requirements. Each requirement has its own individual ID. We can filter on these type of requirements and create things like views, right, to be able to look at, let's look in this requirement, let's look at all the functional requirements. And so we can kind of filter on things that way. We can we have this ability to look at traceability again. So if we want to look at requirements traceability, looking at what requirements are being satisfied upstream and downstream, we can do that also. And in this use case, we're looking at proposed requirements changes. Right? So we want to propose a requirements change. How do we do that, and how do we do that in isolation? So we have the ability to actually create change sets. We take the ability to create a change set to requirements and link that to what we call a work item. And so I can capture all the changes, my proposed changes. So I'm going to go ahead and create a change set, and I'm going to say, all right. And so I've created this change set. Now, before I actually make any changes, I have the ability to actually say, you know what, I'm going to link this to a work item. So I'm going to go and link this.
why would we do that? What's the
So,
benefit?
so, so the advantage of that is you have now somewhere to track those changes, right? And when you actually go through and actually make and say, I want to actually make those changes official, you can have a governance process around it. So as we
Ah,
talked about, we have work items, right? And those work items can have workflows through them.
mm-hmm,
So maybe we have a review state, and maybe we have an approval that needs to happen before we actually make those changes public to the rest of the team. And so
mm-hmm,
we can actually do that. So I can actually attach that, create. I can either choose an existing or create a new work item on it. We have the ability to create these search on work items by a query. So I'm going to look at. I have some high priority work, right, and I have a work to actually create and update the requirements to support this autonomous braking feature.
mm-hmm.
So I'm actually going to make those changes. So I'm going to link that to that work item. Now you can see that this work item is now linked. There's the change set. It's linked to that work item. Now I'm going to go ahead and make my changes. So I'm going to go create a new work item, a new requirement for autonomous braking. So,
It
so
doesn't
now,
have. Go ahead.
sorry. Yeah, so I've made a new requirement change, right? And now I can actually have the ability here to say, well, let me actually deliver this change.
All right.
So I can go through and make a delivery. And so what it's actually doing is it's actually going to look at the two different requirements. So we have our initial requirements, right, and the ones that we have proposed. We can
Mm-hmm.
actually go through and actually do that type of comparison. All right, and so it's actually going to look at the different requirement changes, and it's going to show you where the requirement changes are. So if we scroll down, we can see that, okay, this is the new requirement that we've added, and we can see it in the structure.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And
We
it's
can
going to show us a
also
link, huh?
Yeah, and so it's going to say, all right, we added that new requirement, and we can also see more, right? So we can actually see what was actually added
Mm-hmm.
and any new attributes that we added. So if we
So,
wanted to go through, we can go and deliver that now.
all right. And when you say deliver, does that then kick off the governance model, or is that something that we're going to look at next?
And then it can. So one of the abilities here is we have the ability to limit who can actually make deliveries and how you make deliveries.
Mm-hmm.
I actually didn't make that delivery yet. We're still in that change set, and I'm going to make some changes where we can actually look at um, the, oh, sorry. We're going to look at the permissions that we can set on these type of deliveries. So I'm looking at my initial stream of work. I can see that underneath I have some change management constraints that I can add. So I can actually force that you can actually make any changes on these requirements until you're actually in the change set. But we
Mm-hmm.
can also enforce the fact that we have to be linked to an approved work item, right? So we can actually make those changes.
Hmm.
Now, once I
Okay.
do that and I go back and I try to actually deliver that change,
Right.
it's going to tell me, well, it's going to take a look at that work item that I'm linked to, and it's going to ask whether or not, it's going to check whether or not that requirement, that work item is in an approved state.
Uh-huh.
So there's that work item. I'm going to go ahead and deliver it,
Mm-hmm.
and it's not letting me because the work item that it's associated to is not in an approved state.
Uh-huh.
So let's go look at that, right? So we go look at the change set in itself. We can see the work item that's associated to. Let me go open that in a new window. And I can see that there is no approvals. It's pending. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So let's actually make a change to that.
So essentially what we're looking at here is we need to create a workflow of approvers that can then go in and approve.
Yep. I can
that.
go in and say this is approved. So you're going to submit this to maybe some requirements governance board. And the requirements person on the requirements board is going to review these changes. So yep, this is approved. We can make this change.
And does that also constitute essentially an electronic handshake or an electronic signature, such that there's traceability back to who approved it and when, so that there's it meets some compliance and regulatory mandates?
Exactly. So the approvals are, you can see exactly who approved it and when. All right. If you look at the history of the work item, you can also see that information.
Okay.
So now that I've approved this and I go back and I try to deliver that change again.
Right.
Go back. I'm in that change set and I go to deliver it. And I can, since we already know what the changes are, I'm just going to
express.
And now it's able to commit those changes. Now those changes are now visible to the rest of the team.
And then at that point, do people have dashboards set up that will show that a change has been delivered, or an email, or is there some mechanism by which you can set up to communicate when changes are delivered?
Yep. So we can look at feeds. On the dashboard, we have feeds around what the requirement changes are.
Okay.
If you're subscribed to the work item that's linked to that requirement change, you also know when that requirement was completed. So you can set up notifications, email notifications.
A variety of ways to do that.
Exactly.
Okay, great.
So that's how we can handle requirements change management process.
Change management, okay.
Yeah.
Well, good. Does that wrap it up for this bit?
Yeah, it does.
All right. Well, so what we've basically looked at is, it's not a matter of if, but when changes are requested in a program or a project, how do you handle them? And so so you want to go in, you want to set it up, you want to understand what work items are related, how those work items might be affected. We didn't look at this today, but I assume if they're associated to another work item or requirement that has a test case associated with it, potentially, there's something there that needs to get checked. And as we saw last time, you can be notified that a change is pending, and will that have any impact on you? So it's I think one of the things we talked about early on is this bidirectional traceability is crucial in ASPICE, and is not only crucial for the certification, but really for the productivity of creating whatever it is you're creating, whatever component or piece
whatever
or part of
product,
the
right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So and you can take this change management approach to any type of work product in our system, right? So if you want to manage the change of tests, you can do that also.
Very good. Well, Amit, once again, thank you very much. We look forward to episode number 6. What's on the docket for next time?
So we're going to look at how some of our clients are utilizing our Rational Engineering Lifecycle Manager to actually drive assessments and audits of various sites.
Oh, excellent. So that gets pretty practical there with, since a lot of these suppliers are really being forced down this road, they need to know a little bit more about how that works.
Yeah.
So good. Well, thanks, Amit. We're going to wrap it up here until next time. Thanks, everybody, for watching. This is 321 Gangs Change the Conversation Technical Podcast. I'm Brian Smith. Look down below to subscribe, to ask questions or comment on this podcast, or to make recommendations for others that you might be interested in. And we'll see you next time. Thanks so much for watching.